Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your questions, because they are exactly the line of questioning that I want to pursue. And I also very much appreciated the answers that each of you have already given to this. I don't want you to just restate what you just said. I'm going to go through a little bit of a question here along the same lines that Senator Wyden did, and just ask you to make a brief commitment that you will work to achieve fairness in the judicial system that you will administer. But to lead up to that, as Senator Wyden has already said, the tax code is often perceived, particularly by those who do not have the resources to hire an army of lawyers to help them. It's incomprehensible. I can remember, in terms of the complexity of the tax code, this is going back about 15 or 20 years, so I may have the recollection wrong here, but it seems to me that one of our national magazines about 15 or 20 years ago created a family of 4 example and gave it a few little tax twists, and then hired 3 or 4 different tax preparer types to do the taxes for this family of 4. Not a super complicated deal, but just some things with a few tax issues in it. And of the people that they hired to do the tax returns for this sample family, they got 3 or 4 different answers for what the tax return ought to look like. The code is that complicated. And when you can imagine a citizen who's brought into court by the IRS, one of the more feared agencies in the United States, they are scared when they come into your courtroom. And they want to know that they're going to get fairness. And so that's exactly where my questions come down. Add to this the fact that the IRS Office of Chief Counsel is responsible for representing the government in matters before the tax court, and it will be there in the courtroom in every one of these cases. And the American people know that. And I think that I know that what Senator Wyden and I are both angling for here is just a solid commitment from you that you will assure that the taxpayers receive fairness. I don't need you to go into a detailed explanation, but just please give me that commitment that the taxpayers will receive fairness in your courtrooms.
Ranking Member Crapo, thank you. You're absolutely correct. Fairness is the foundation of our court systems and needs to be the foundation of our tax system. And so, as a judge, I commit to treating all taxpayers fairly and evenly. And part of that is communication and making sure that there are no surprises, that they know what's coming, they understand their rights, they understand the process.
All right, thank you. Mr. Guider, just quickly, will you assure that there will be fairness in your courtroom?
Yes, absolutely, Senator.
Ms. Fung?
I also commit to fairness in the courtroom, Senator.
All right. Now, the reason I wanted you to be quick is because I have a second question, and it's another angle on this very issue. Less than 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court overturned the legal doctrine that courts should defer to an agency's interpretation of an ambiguous statute, the so-called Chevron doctrine. In light of this court case, there will be heightened importance for judicial awareness of agencies' actions and review of agencies' interpretations of the very law that will be interpreted in your courtrooms. If confirmed, and upon initial impression, how would you face this challenge of scrutinizing regulatory actions? For example, would you be willing to rule that a Treasury regulation is invalid if the guidance does not align with the statutory language and the legislative history? Mr. Arbite.
Ranking Member Crapo, thank you. The foundation of every legal analysis is finding an interpretation that is consistent with the statute and that reflects the intent of Congress. So, yes.
Mr. Guider.
Senator, thank you. Yes, the Supreme Court has said that the tax court, for example, will no longer simply defer to the agency's interpretation. We have to conduct, assuming I'm confirmed, conduct our own analysis of the code and the regulation. So I will be fully prepared to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Fung.
Yes, Senator. essentially looking at the law as provided and looking at everything in terms of intent. And obviously, if the goal is to get to the right answer, and so that's what we need to do in terms of looking at the law before us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And as you could